welcome to this week's episode of NetKno, the networking show, where we are obsessed in a healthy way with all things networking. So this week, we're going to go practical this week. We're going to talk about following up after an event. So I get asked this quite a lot. You know, you've put loads of energy and effort into going to the event. You meet loads of wonderful people. And then sometimes we just kind of end it there, but actually, this is just the beginning. The networking event itself is just a tiny part of what networking encompasses. So our follow-up actions, really important. First thing that we need to do is make sure we plan time in our diary to do the follow-up actions, because we're busy people, okay? You know, you've got a lot of other things to be thinking about. Put some time, block some time out, even if it's just an hour in your diary, to sit down and do all your follow-up actions, right? Next thing, when you are at the actual event itself, take some notes. I have specific notebooks just for networking. So I keep everything in one place. And what you do is when you're having a conversation, you're chatting to people, especially if you're like a big event and you're going to meet loads of people in a really short space of time, you're going to forget what you've promised to do afterwards. You're going to forget who you talked to, what you talked about. So if it's an exhibition or something like that, you potentially going to have hundreds of conversations over just a really short space of time. So if you are chatting to someone and you're like, oh, you should talk to so-and-so, or like producer Pete's just give me a wonderful book recommendation. He was like, I'll send you a link to that. Lovely. And say to them, so I don't forget, I'm going to get my notebook out and I'm going to write it down, and literally write it down in front of them so they can see that you're doing it. It shows that you care enough to write it down, and it kind of creates this to-do list for yourself, so that after the event finishes, when you sit down to do those follow-up actions, you've got I love a to-do list. You've got a lovely little to-do list. So you're like, send Jenny the link to the audio book, whatever the name of the book is. Lovely. Introduce this person to that person. Lovely. So you've got a lovely, fantastic list, and it means that you're not going to forget anything, because if you say to someone at a networking event, oh, I'll do this, whether that's send you a link or introduce you to someone, and then you don't do it, it shows that you're not reliable, and that's not a great way to start out any new or nurture any relationship that's existing. So by doing the things that you say you're going to, it's going to really help build that trust, and it's an excuse to connect with that person straight afterwards. So it's an excuse to drop them an email, get in touch with them. And even if you didn't promise to do something, another great follow-up action is to drop someone a personalized email after a networking event. So if you get their business card, or if you connect with them on LinkedIn during the event itself. So on LinkedIn, you're able to, when you open up your LinkedIn app, there's the little search bar at the top. Click into the search bar, and on the right-hand side, you'll see some little squares appear. If you click on those squares, it opens your own personalized QR code. And through that, you can scan each other's. If you both do that, there's an option for your QR code or to scan someone else's. And then it allows you to connect with someone on LinkedIn while you're actually meeting them. So a lot of people don't have business cards these days. But if you do collect business cards, or if you connect with someone on LinkedIn, make sure we send them a personalized email. So there's a number of different reasons to do this. One, it gets your details in their inbox. So people could lose your business card. They could forget that they connected with you. In order to find you on LinkedIn after connecting with you, they're going to have to remember your name. And if you're like me, I'm genuinely really bad with names. I remember faces, but names not so much. But on LinkedIn, you are able to see who you most recently added onto LinkedIn. So you'll be able to find them there, hopefully. But getting a business card, getting someone's contact details, drop them an email saying, oh, it was really nice to meet you at, and then reference where you met them, reference what you spoke about. If you can instantly add some value to them based on the conversation you have, even better. But this gets your details into their inbox, which means that they can search for you if they need you in the future. So again, business cards, they can lose them, but having your details in their inbox, fantastic. So that's a great thing to do. If you haven't connected with someone on LinkedIn already, make sure you do it afterwards. If you go to an online networking event, great idea is to take a screenshot of all those lovely squares with all those little name badges on. And then after the event, you can just go on LinkedIn, find everyone. And again, send it a personalized note to say, it was really nice to meet you at, or I was just on the event that you were at. Tell them where you saw them or you met them. so that they know that you're not just a random person connecting with them, because some people don't accept requests unless you've actually met them in person or you've connected with them for a purpose. So reference where you met them or the same event that you attended, connecting with them on LinkedIn. I'd also say search, especially if you really want to work with this person, search for their business profiles on other platforms. So think about in your sector or their sector, what platforms are most prominent. So business people and professionals tend to be obviously on LinkedIn. But also find their business on LinkedIn, follow their business page. You might learn some stuff that you wouldn't from them personally. But also think about maybe Instagram, TikTok, any other social media platforms that they as a business profile might use. I would say like Facebook's tends to be personal, just leave that for friends and family. But again, business profiles can be on there, so have a little look and see what else you can find, start engaging with them on social media, and that's going to allow you to continue to nurture those new relationships and long term, as well as learning from your new connections. So great way to do it. I've already mentioned adding value, and if you can add value to someone that you've just met, and in a previous episode we've talked about the different ways we can add value. I shall link it up so you can go and have a look if you've not already. But there's loads of different ways you can add value. So making those introductions, but just generally sharing information and knowledge that's going to be useful to someone is a fantastic way to start out any new relationship. So integrating that into your follow-up strategy, fantastic thing to do. So based on the conversations that you've had, think, right, you maybe didn't mention it in the conversation, but in hindsight, what might add value to that person? Is there an event coming up that might be of use? Is there someone that they should be connected with that they're not? And again, look for ways that you can add value as part of that straight up follow-up strategy. So yeah, that's it. There's some tangible actions that we can be taking. So post-event, plan your diary, put some time in. It's also going to allow you to recharge your batteries, especially if you're more introverted, which leads me on to next week's episode, which is all about networking for introverts. So make sure, if you haven't already, subscribe to the platform, to the channel, and you'll get notified when that new episode is live. But yeah, following up is just as important as the actual networking itself. Booking those one-to-ones, arrange some coffees with people, follow on the conversations, and look for ways that you can add value. So that is it for this week. If it's been useful to you, it's hopefully useful to others. So please do share it with your wider network. Share the networking love. And yeah, I'll see you next week at Networking for Introverts.
A Liquid Studios production.